Hello, Butesies. It's time for part number 3 of daily number 565, where we're getting lessons from Snute of how to hold things off. Looked at aggressive openings in part 1. In part 2, we saw that we can even be aggressive with small numbers of lings if they are opting to go Widow Mines. And then we saw the long and probably meatiest game of all in part 2 of the read. Oh my gosh, 7 minutes, haven't seen anything. Instantly going to go take that extra base. All these non-triggers, seeing that nothing is happening, can trigger us to have good responses. In this game, we're going to watch Snute play against Millennium's 4GG. Going to be using the same basic framework structure opening, but we're going to see that Snute has answers for when our opponent is not going for mine. I will straight up the bat say that 4GG is going to be going for ultra standard Hellion Banshee. Ultra standard Hellion Banshee. Game gets a little bit weird, but you'll still see the overall structure. Because again, I'm not focusing on the ultra specific details, I'm focusing on the general skeleton, which of course permits you to adjust this to attune to your style however you like. Look at this gas, not ridiculously early, but early enough. Pokes in there, sees the barracks. Wants to poke back in, sees there a gas geyser. Can we keep poking? Maybe sees there the other gas geyser. And there is, and there is. Okay, cool. We see the gas geyser. What does that mean? Very unlikely to be a marine-based opening. More likely than not going to be a factory opening. Actually, like 95% chance going to be a factory opening. Could be Reapers, but even if he's going Reapers, he's probably going to follow it up with factory, so cool. And then this is another extremely valuable piece of information. The second gas going down. This is almost always a sign that he wants to get Starport with Cloak Banshee. Almost always. Or at the very least, Hellion Banshee with fast upgrades. Why? Because you just don't need that much gas. You really, really don't. See, I will just point out to you that, yeah, you really don't need the gas. Look right now. Look, wow. The only time you'd ever need that much gas is if you want to get that Starport and get those upgrades right away. Anyways, I looked at the wrong thing. I got distracted by myself. So Snute, who went for his reasonable early gas, still getting queen and queen, still getting this Zergling speed up. Notice that even by delaying the extractor, he gets enough minerals to be able to build not just a third queen, but also a fourth queen. That's one of the reasons why he hasn't gone gas pool in any of these games. He's gone pool gas, so he can still get the 4 queenies up. And then just like clockwork, taking a third, taking a third. Alright, cool. Let's do our usual itty-bitty analysis-y. When is the latest that we will see those Hellions? Between 6:30 and 7. So, the larvae inject before they pop out. In fact, the larvae inject before the 6:30 mark is when we want to make our lings. So here it comes. And there's the lings getting made. I mean, it's not... timing is... a lot of timings for... just a little side note tangent. Especially if you're somewhat new, timings can sound scary. Because you're like, well, how do I know all the timings? Well, again, if you know what his timings are, like 6:30, you're just like, well, whenever my larva pops off, that's pretty close to 6:30, I'll just make some links. It's nothing too complicated. A lot of times people get all sophisticated sounding and be like, and then your third larva inject. You want to make sure they're links. People are like, Jesus, you count that? Well, no, you just... Whatever is the latest time before 6:30, I'll just do that. So, alright. Still haven't seen those Hellions. Still have not really seen them. Huh. Okay, what did we identify last game? Oh wait, no, never mind. There's the Hellions. 7 minutes is about as late as we'll see them. And there's the other two coming. Coming on up! Now here is a decision that I generally do not make, but is still a cool one. There's 2 more Hellions. Ah, and the other 2 are... Where are they? Oh no, these are the original 2. And then here's the follow-up 2. one of two basic things that 4GG can do. He can either make another round of Hellions, or he can make some mines. So what do we see Snute do? He sees these guys, and he thinks, alright, well, I'll just counterattack. Because if he's going mines, I'll just 1 or 2 lings up, eat the mine shot, and then deal massive damage. So there's those other 2 Hellions, guaranteed no mine's going to be here. LOL, oh LOL, great. Now that is kind of the cute part of this, but I still want to come back to the 7-minute mark because the question that we posed at the beginning of this is, what if we've identified that he's not going for this mine thing? What if we've identified that he's not going Hellions? Okay. Or, excuse me, what do we do if we've identified that he is going Hellions? Okay, cool. I see some Hellions. Alright, nice. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to send my drone there right away. Alright, cool. Not doing that. My layer timing hasn't changed at all. I think these 2 queens are going to be enough to stave everything off. Still adding on some drones. Drones are still being rallied to this space. Not going to be too overeager. Still just going to continue to spread, and then around 8 minutes, I can even build a macro hatch, boom, right there in the main. No need to. Again, we're going to just ignore everything that's going on over here. We're going to ignore that and just think about what's happening buildings-wise. So the queens are sort of moving out. Because Snute is fast enough, he can just still look like he's playing everything out normally. And we wind up in kind of an unusual, funky situation because somehow 4GG loves doing nothing but counterattacks. But note, Cloaked Banshee, we accounted for that because we already have 5 queens up from our opening. We already have the layer up fast enough for the Overseer. All the timings for non-mine play we can see pretty clearly. 7-minute layer. So we can line up with a fast Banshee Cloak. 4 queens early. So we can hold off Hellion Harass and expand Creep and have anti-air for when Banshees show up. Oh, cool. Great. We even had the Zergling speed to be able to surround and pick off some of those Hellions if needed be. And now Snute's looking pretty darn good. Very nicely defended, very nicely set up, but of course 4GG being 4GG will run all this stuff up. Snute had some of his stuff in bad positions. His Zerglings are up here. Went for this sacrifice, which did kill off some workers, but I honestly think it's better to stay at home and keep the workers alive. All those comments I've just made are ways of saying, oh yeah, you know, there really are kind of ways we could have prevented 8 Hellions and Cloaked Banshees from getting into the main. There's a lot of ways that that could have been adjusted. We've seen Snute, though, have an opening that was flexible in terms of early roach aggression. And then we saw a more longer form build that is good against both passive mine play that transitions into mid-game biomine, and here Snute had a setup that could aptly defend this sort of play. Cool. And even with all this stuff getting in the main, and even as terrible as this might look, Snute can actually bounce back from it pretty reasonably. I know no one believes me right now, and that's fine. I'm sort of fine with no one believing me right now. Why do I say I'm fine with no one believing me? As a general rule, the more aggressive the harassment, the more units that were involved in the harassment, the more damage you actually have to do to even be ahead. Supply-wise, they're actually fairly even. Worker supply still favors Snute, not even including these 5 drones that are about to hatch. And when you look in the main base, 4GG has nothing. He has 2 units that can make, or 2 buildings that can make units. His factories are almost done, yeah, sure, but then he has to get add-ons. Snute's fine. Snute is actually fine. How are we doing on time? 8:09? Perfect. That's great. Now this game transitions into mech, so it's irrelevant to the point that I want to make to see the rest of it. But let's just recap everything that we've seen. I'm also going to go ahead and go to the Marky O question grabber And I'm going to turn off the subscriber so that way we can get some questions from the full audience. So to begin a question, just begin it with Dear Day 9, and Marky's question grabber will just grab it. All right, let's begin taking der questions. All right. Prometheus asked a perfectly reasonable question. Day 9, since Zerg can easily identify... Oh, okay, I'm not going to do this yet. I'm sorry, Prometheus. I wanted to recap. In part 1, we saw a really simple example of how going for a somewhat early gas geyser can give us this nice roach play. And it works perfectly fine if he goes for Hellion Banshee, but if he goes Widowmine, we see that there's a really sweet follow-up kill sequence with Roach speed and Overlord speed. In part 2, we looked at the idea of this long-form, long-term play where we're trying to get reads to see when Hellions are coming out, and if we identify, wow, he hasn't built any Hellions, he's probably building mines. We can get an extra expand up, we can expand a ton, we stay defensive, and we bloat our layer time. Focusing on those upgrades, focusing on Baneling speeds, delaying Mutalisk, not trying to be aggressive. And then we're in fantastic shape when he actually kicks into high gear around 14 or 15 minutes. And then here in part 3, we saw probably the most important lesson, which is that all the cool plays against mines we've seen are a response to seeing them go mine. If we see that they're not going mine, we still have an absolutely fantastic opening structure to exploit most Terran builds. So now, of course, Prometheus 0099 says, since Zerg can easily identify if Terran is going biomine and react in plenty of time, do you think it will not become viable? I think that given its strength in the mid and late game, people will definitely figure out ways to make it work. But I think that some of the current openings that people are using have big vulnerabilities. I actually think that maybe going Hellion Banshee into Widow Mines might be the necessary key. But even then, you're going for a lot of things that are not Marines. You're going for Hellions, and you're going for Banshees, maybe you're getting Cloak on the Banshees, and then you're getting the upgrades, and then you're getting the mines. When the hell are you getting the barracks and all of that? That would be the question for that. So I have faith. I have faith in people's abilities to do stuffs. I mean, hell, maybe what people will start doing is they'll start going for big Hellion play early, like really emphasize the Hellions, and then go for a bunch of Marine Marauder, and then get the Widow Mines up. That's quite an old school play. Hellion, Marine, Medevac, and then mine. These are some things. Yeah. Yes. Well, let's take Tomato Andrew's question. He says, Day 9, I'm a newbie. It's Tuesday. It's so cute. I don't see what the difference between roaches and hydralisks are in this type of play. Why are roaches a more solid choice against Widowmine? So, functionally, it is true that there's not as... in relation to the Widowmine, the roaches do not outrange it, so the Widowmine has a little bit more potential against the roaches. And you might think, well, why not use Hydras in this attack? Or why not use Hydras in general? It's just the difference between having Hydras and then getting Hydras. Sure, having the Hydras in that battle would have been nice, but to get them is a lot harder. The reason Snute's plays work is that he can do the roaches first as a hatch tech play, and then when his layer is done, all he has to do is upgrade speed, and then the follow-up attack happens very quickly thereafter. With Hydralisks, you'd have to build a Hydra Den, wait for that to finish, then start building Hydras. You can't build them at hatch tech like you can with roaches, and you have to wait for speed to finish. Then you have to wait for range to finish too, so that way they can even outrange them in the first place. Ugh, maybe if you wanted to skip range, it's still a lot of gas you're talking about. Yeah. Crafty Goblin says, Day 9, when should a Zerg player build Spore Crawlers if they think they might experience any sort of early pressure? Quick Banshee. He did say Quick Banshee or Phoenixes, but I'm going to ignore the Phoenix one because we're against Terran today. I will actually show you when is the earliest you'd ever need to do it. Never rely on guesswork, just rely on timing. So we'll just go and look at 4GG's build. Now, I think it's safe to say, if you feel like you're a newbie, if you feel like you're not GSL Code S level, watch someone who is GSL Code S level, see how fast they get the Banshees and Cloak up, and then go, oh gosh, people at my level will get it up that fast or slower. So you'll notice the Banshee actually pops out at 7:32. And how long does it take to get to the base? Should be around the 8-minute mark. An 8-minute mark is a good timing also to say that's when cloaking can possibly be done. But 4GG's getting this about as fast as humanly possible. And look at this miraculous timing. Layer at 7 minutes means that you will have detection available just in time, right when the Banshee arrives. So the earliest you need to build this spore is at 8 minutes. Absolute earliest. And even then, you should set yourself up with enough queens early to where you'll say, oh, I can build spores as a response. I can actually wait till I see the Banshee, and then I can build it. If you are let's say you're somewhere between bronze and platinum, I can understand someone saying, well, Jesus, I don't have enough focus to be able to both see the Banshees and then react in time, or see the Phoenixes and react in time. In that case, I'd say there's nothing wrong with just building 3 spores, 1 in your main, 1 in your natural, 1 at your third. Knowing full well, the higher up you climb, the more likely it is you're just going to cut those by having better control. Let's see here, what are some... Actually, one last question from a non-subscriber, because all the subscribers get to chat during the show. This is just a bonus question. I'll answer from Amarok64. It says, what can Zerg do against Reaper Widowmine openings? Check the start of part 2 to see a big vulnerability. Damn it, Haircombs asked a great question that I completely forgot to answer. What about Widowmine drops in the main base? That's the big thing. If your opponent's going Widowmines, he can't kill expansions. He can only really try to kill drones. So that's why throughout these games, we've seen in part 1, Snute answered this by just attacking the opponent. There's no way a Widowmine drop could happen because Snute was attacking and those mines needed to stay at home. In part 2, you'll see Snute has a huge number of Zerglings and he's putting them nowhere near the Terran side of the map. He's keeping them all spread out on his side of the map to deal with just that. Everything is defensively positioned. Either way, go to day9.tv, find yourself a 2v2 partner to play in this week's Fun Day Monday. In fact, I will show you the sweetest graphic that Gabe made. Oh, Gabe is the man. All right, where is it? Where is it? Is it? Yeah, there it is. The 2v2 Power Cheese Fun Day Monday. Bam! Find yourself a partner at day9.tv and then submit to Monday at day9.tv. Friday is Dark Souls. The Friday after that, I'll be doing Mana Battles and 2v2 v2v2s with subscribers. If you'd like to subscribe, twitch.tv/day9tv. Otherwise, have yourself a wonderful night. It was great to see you. We'll be doing Snute's Zerg vs. Protoss tomorrow. Bye! Bye!